All right, we're going to call the ordinance meeting subcommittee to order, and I have approval of the minutes from September 16th.
So moved.
And I'll second it, and we're all in favor?
Aye.
All right, we're going to move on to really the only agenda item right now, and thank you, Molly, for reaching out to some of our other department heads and also our police department for other ordinances that need to be reviewed. One of our goals is to try and update some of the old ordinances, eliminate, hopefully not add too many. So I'm going to defer to corporate counsel for the discussion on the code of ethics.
Okay, so the last time we were here talking about the code of ethics, the main thing was talking about who was responsible for distributing it. And also, I think it was Councilman Kevin Arrow was looking to add some language that made it binding on the folks, the vendors who provided bids to the city of Torrington through the bid procurement process. So the first thing you'll note what I did on page 2 is I added a definition for prospective supplier. And that's a term of art that I pulled right out of the charter provision for that process, for the procurement process. That's the term used there to describe them, and that defines, who they are. So that was the first thing I did. I also, though, went ahead and you'll see subparagraph B, because it was, I think Councilman Ivane wanted all of the gender references, so all of the he's changed to they, them, whatever. And then I just happened to notice that, well, this is kind of a catch-all that you would see in a lot of statutes even that, and in contracts, you see it a lot, where if there's masculine words, it means the feminine, but I did go through and I did a, search and replace thing, and I think I caught them all. So I did change all of the he, him, his references to they, their, them.
Okay.
And then I thought, since I'm doing that, we can delete that.
Yeah.
You don't need it. So I got rid of that. And then, so that's what you'll see throughout, as you'll see the different deletions and the insertions.
Okay.
And then the substantive piece on, so section 22-20, which is on page 6, added a subparagraph D, because human resources didn't like the language that put responsibility for distributing the ethics code on them, where it said employed or engaged. She didn't like that. So deleted engaged, added subparagraph D that says, as part of the procurement process set forth in the charter of the city of Torrington, all prospective suppliers, refer back to that definition that I added, of supplies, materials, equipment, and or contractual services to the city, including the Board of Education, shall be furnished a copy of this code of ethics by the city's purchasing agent as part of the bid process, and shall be required to comply with said code. So I ran that by Penny Zuko, our purchasing officer, and said, what do you think about this? And the only comment she had was, well, does that mean anytime I order paper from WB Mason, or I order pens, or things that are just kind of part of her regular routine that doesn't go through the bid process? And I said, well, it specifically says as part of the bid process.
Right.
So if you're not getting bids from places like that, then they're not part of it. What I also noticed, so anyway, those are the only changes in the ethics code. And, I'm open to discussion about even changing the language a little more, whatever you folks think is appropriate. But as an aside, I noticed that on the city council agenda for tonight was a police department request to approve purchasing a utility vehicle. And I noticed that attached to that essentially was the bid process that we have. So there's the request for proposal.
Yeah.
And then under the instruction to bidders piece, and I know I'm really ahead of myself, but when you get to that, under paragraph, under page 4, there's a section that says suspension and debarment. And under suspension, it says a vendor may be suspended based on the following. And number 7 there says a vendor violates the ethical standards set forth in local, state, or federal law. So it looks like in a roundabout way, it's part of the bid process anyway.
Mhm.
So I think the only thing that the ordinance will add is that as part of a request for proposal, when our purchasing agent prepares that, she includes a copy of the code of ethics. And I think that would take care of what Councilman Cavanero was concerned about. And she made it, she said it would be no big deal to do that. So if this is generally the request for proposal, and I know they get these instructions, they get specs, they get all kinds of stuff. But maybe just attaching, and it could be the way this form is set up, the request for proposals, it's got these items. And I guess I'll defer to her however she wants to do it, but it
Yeah.
could be under this item, she just puts, City of Torrington Code of Ethics. Or something like that.
So I'm
I'll
just
kinda
thinking
leave it up
about,
to-
yeah, I was thinking about what Ray Drew had mentioned, that they always seem to also get, I don't know if all of his contracts go through Penny's office. I know Permanent Vehicles. Don't know if everything that Public Works does goes through her office.
Well, my understanding is anytime there's a contract that's more than $10,000, it has to, because it goes through that procurement process
Yeah,
Mhm.
and that goes through.
a Penny.
That
Okay.
goes through purchasing. They're
Yeah.
the ones who do it. So she would rely on Ray, or if it's Water Pollution Control Authority, she'd rely on Ed Towsey to provide her with the specs. And I think they work together, they work hand in hand. And if you notice again, in this police thing, one of the cover letters, I think from Chief Baldwin basically says that he thanks one of the police officers who was involved.
Right.
And also thanks Penny Zuko for help in putting together the request, so.
Yeah.
So I would guess Ray's right, that anytime they're spending $10,000 or more, it goes through the purchasing department as
Which
part of that procurement
indicates, yeah.
process.
So just so I'm good with that. I think just where it says editor's notes, Mike,
Say that again?
it's, we're amending that last, where you made the amendment, section D,
Yeah,
that's,
the editor's notes?
so do you?
I'm
Now update
not
that?
responsible for that.
who is?
I don't know. Yeah.
So you would be changing that to 2024, correct? Who was that?
The people who run the website.
Oh, okay, so they will make that edit? Okay,
Which meeting?
Right.
Yeah, I'm not sure, because interesting, again, today, I was looking at a lot of different things. And I was looking at the Inland Wetlands Commission ordinance that was adopted back in April, I think it was, where they, talking about their fines, what the
Yeah.
fines are.
right,
And
right.
it amended, and I'm gonna get it wrong, but I think it was section 116-3 or something like that. What was it? 114-3. And so I was just curious. I said, geez, so it looks like that's the first ordinance we ever had that imposed fines. I wonder if there was one before. So I went to the current code and looked up 114.3, and it has something to do with fines imposed by the fire department. So I emailed Heather and I said, geez, it looks like we have a conflict. Should we have renumbered this? And she said that Muni code people, that they'll do that.
Yeah, and I noticed even this document, it has it created 2024-02-19. So, okay, I'm not gonna worry about it. Yeah.
And the other thing, the way you see it too, if you go on the website to our ordinances, the charter and codes,
Yeah,
there is a link. And it says, see what's changed. This code may not reflect the most current legislation. So I guess at some point, it gets from the city clerk's office to the people who run the website. So they do it like once a year?
That's when everything gets all updated. That. Anything. you changed, is, you know, like the number, section, page,
Okay, great.
that's when I'll be like, I have your book.
Yeah, I was just
Yeah.
gonna say, yeah.
So I
alright,
think that
Right.
hand that you're pointing out there is really just kind of a editorial content
Yeah.
that those people deal with as opposed to
The actual
substantive
time
stuff.
wave, okay. So I think we could, this was a discussion. I feel like, since we do have quorum, we could probably pass it and
Hmm.
have a public hearing, so we don't need to.
because we did already.
Oh, right, okay.
Okay.
All right,
Right, and because that was discussed at the public hearing. That was a comment that came up as part of the public hearing.
so it doesn't need to go back.
Yeah.
Okay. Thanks for the clarification. So Molly, would you want to move this?
I'll move it.
And I will second it, and all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, so it has been moved and passed, and any other business by committee members?
I can report on one thing, so the Fair Rent Commission stuff we were talking about. I think
Yes.
It was, again, Councilman Kevin Arrow, and I think you, Madam Chair, also were concerned. You felt that the complaint form itself
Yeah,
should list in some form the 13 factors that the Fair Rent Commission considers,
right,
and they didn't want to do that. They don't want it to be part of the complaint process. It's certainly part of the information that we provide. And the information in the complaint form is really kind of skewed towards those factors. But they didn't feel it was appropriate to have the factors listed and say to people, you need to tell us which of these factors really are you complaining about and what are the facts? They thought it was just too much for lay people to deal with. So they didn't want to, but again, that had nothing to do with the ordinance itself. That was a suggestion on what the complaint form should look like. And they
Right.
didn't want it to look like that.
Okay.
So.
so with Paul not being here, which it was his issue, and I know I actually agreed with him.
Yeah.
Maybe we could talk about it at the next meeting.
Yeah.
Put it on the agenda for the next meeting, for a discussion on fair rent housing. Any other items? All right,
I have nothing. Nope.
okay. We'll move to adjournment
So moved.
in second. And all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Meeting's adjourned.
Good, what an efficiency.